Hi folks, Doug here, Ellis Car Customs, where nobody appreciates your business more than I do. Welcome back, friends and family, to the shop where, believe it or not, it's not raining today. The sun is actually out, so shh, don't tell anybody. Thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for liking and commenting and subscribing, and we're only 80 or so subscribers away from that magic 2,000. That'll be the next big milestone, and I appreciate it if you're new here and you want to give me a sub and help me get towards that 2,000. Thank you. In this video, by hook or by crook, I'm going to turn the fenders and the hood blue. I feel like I've made you wait long enough to see that, and even if it takes me a couple of days to do it, it'll all be wrapped into this video, so that by the time this video is over, the hood and the fenders will be blue. I promise, cross my heart. So with that, I'm going to get to work. Again, thanks for coming, and what a ride, right? By the way, if you've never met her, this is Miss Priss. She's the neighbor's cat, but she decided she loves me more, so every time she goes home, the minute she gets out, she's back over here because she enjoys my company. Don't you, Priss? So yes, just figured I'd show her to her if you hadn't seen her before. That's Miss Priss. Sprayed her with some high build primer, and then we sanded her down with 220 grit to look for any imperfections. Granted, it's not going to be perfect, but I think I'm satisfied enough where I'm going to fly a coat of sealer on there to seal all that crunchy goodness in, and then once that sets up, we might be able to make it turn blue. So we've got our coat of sealer on there. We're working on getting that second fender into sealer, and I got the first fender that I showed in the other video into sealer already. So One step at a time, closer and closer. There, so we've got all our parts into a sealer, and we'll give them the once over, make sure they're ready for blue, and make them blue. This is about how it would be if it were on the car. I can still get around everything, get into all the orifices, and that way it'll sort of mimic the way it's going to be on the car, and the paint will all lay the way it's supposed to. And here again, you know, people will say, why don't you wet down your floor, or this, that, or the other, but you look at my shop. It's definitely not a dust-free environment. I spray with fairly low air pressure, so I don't blow a lot of crap around. I let the paint kind of do the work, and because I don't have a hermetically sealed paint booth, I always know that I'm going to cut and buff them after. As long as I get plenty of paint on there and I don't get runs, wet sanding and buffing it out always seems to make it look pretty. I'll bring you along. So here we are, we've got 2 coats on there. I always like to go with 3 coats. You want to let it flash 15 minutes or so between coats, just to let it kind of tack up. But the nice thing about it is, as terrible as our hood was, I don't see anything screaming, hey, look at me. So that's a good thing. Same with our fenders. If you go back to earlier episodes where we had to do a lot of work on the fenders, the bottoms on both sides, and they were in pretty terrible shape. But yeah, the light hits it nice. This is the part that's scary though. Until this tacks up to the point where if a bug lands on it, he won't stick to it. But yeah, we're going to fly one more coat on there and call it a win if the bugs stay out of it. Like I said, as long as they don't land in it until it's tacked up enough where you can at least nib them out, as they say. But yeah, like I say, I put a bunch of paint on there so that when I cut and buff it, I don't burn through the paint. But we'll do one more coat. Well, I'll gladly admit that my favorite part of bodywork is spraying the paint. Because you know, when you're spraying the paint, all the grunt work is done, you hope. And it's just so satisfying to see, you know, the fruits of your labor, so to speak. You know, get right down in there, you know. She's good and shiny. Like I say, it's a little orange peely, but I'm not worried about that because, like I say, I'm going to cut and buff it. And I'll walk you through that process if you've never done it before. But yeah, when I cut and buff, I'll cut it with, you know, like 1015, 2000 grit paper. And I use a little rubber squeegee, and I keep the panel wet, and as I block it out, I go over with the squeegee, and you'll see the little dimples from, like, if it's a little orange peely, because this is still wet. This may flatten out some as it dries, but yeah, you'll see the little shiny dimples, and everything else will be kind of flat, you know, non-glossy. And you just keep blocking until all the dimples disappear, and then you know you got a nice smooth surface for buffing out. But like I say, this is the third coat just sprayed, and as this cures, it'll probably flatten out, you know, not flatten out gloss wise, but it'll flatten out orange peely wise, and lay a little flatter, because right now the paint's kind of curing and flattening out and outgassing and all that good stuff that paint does. So yeah, if you're still sticking with me on the hood and fender thing, you know, I hope you're as happy as I am with the results, and hope it was worth sticking around to see it turn blue. So that's what I got for you tonight, my friends. Hopefully it was worth hanging out with me and seeing this thing turn blue. Like I said in an earlier video, maybe it was the last video, I'm not sure. Might have been the one before it. But putting these on the sawhorses as if they were bolted to the car makes the paint lay the way it's supposed to. Otherwise, if you painted it laying flat on a table or something like that, and then you turned it like that, the light would hit it different. The only way I can explain that is I've done some aluminum buffing of like fuel tanks and things like that, and you use like a rouge bar and buffer, and you buff it in an up and down direction. And I watched a tutorial where the guy did it, buffed it in an up and down direction, and it looked beautiful. And then, you know, the tank wasn't mounted to a truck, it was just like a sawhorse or something, but it looked beautiful. And then he took the tank and stood it on its end, and it looked like crap because of the way the light was hitting it. That you know, you were going with the light, and then when you turned it like that, all your buff lines were like this, and the light were hitting all the buff lines. But same thing with paint, I guess. But thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for supporting me and liking and commenting and subscribing. We only need 80-something subscribers to get to that 2,000. After that, it's anybody's guess how high it goes. Till then, take care. We'll see you on the next one.